great to be joined by Kyle Neubeck. Kyle back from his long middle of the season vacation. Always a perfect time of the year for a basketball reporter to go halfway across the world. But buddy, we hope that you had a great trip. If you haven't seen it, Kyle has posted a couple of pictures up on Twitter. So please go check that out so we can all live vicariously through Kyle. Because right now the weather is miserable here in Philadelphia and has been for most of the entire time that you were gone. Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, well, listen, I planned this trip based around the weather in Egypt, not the weather in Philadelphia or the Sixers schedule or the NBA Cup. It turns out there are not many times of the year that are conducive for tourists to go to a place that goes up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. So here I am. I'm back. All the naysayers, all the doubters, all the haters who said, does this guy even work anymore? I sure showed you. And now I'm doing a solo podcast because apparently Derek decided he was going to play a practical joke on me or his technology was going to play a joke on me on my first night back. So congratulations to me. Ethan is with us tonight in the producer's chair. Thankfully, back in the lineup tonight, VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, Dominick Barlow, not Derek Bodner, very notably, as we deal with the solo show right now. Hello to Marcus, hello to Kyle, hello to Luke. A few regulars who I haven't seen in a little while. Maybe I'll just start talking about Egypt since Derek decided he is done working for the night. It was fun trying to play catch up with the Sixers from abroad. As, hey, there he is. Derek decided today was the day he wanted to do a tech refresh.
To be fair, I rewired everything like a week ago. I just haven't tested out my camera cable. I have to replace the cable. It doesn't matter. Anyway, welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show. As I mentioned, Kyle is here along with me. We got Ethan filling in for Bree. And of course, PHLY Sixers pregame show is presented, as always, by Bet365. Bet365, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Yeah, I'll be replacing that before we get to the postgame show. Noted.
I would imagine so. You might have to do a blind postgame show at this point. I don't know what's happening.
You know, while you were gone, the entire team came down with an illness, including, of course, VJ Edgecombe, who missed a couple of games. And, you know, it is wild to sit here and talk about a player in VJ missing a Brooklyn game and it being like he is such an integral part of the rotation right now that you don't expect it for a rookie, but he obviously has been not only on defense, but I thought Tyrese, you know, didn't get quite as much space as he previously did because VJ wasn't there to put a little bit of pressure on the rim and put a little bit of pressure on the defense. It didn't help that everyone on the team against Brooklyn couldn't shoot, and that was a huge problem. But it is nice to get VJ back, not just VJ, Quentin coming back as well. You know, the Sixers had 3 players, Barlow as well, who was questionable earlier today. All 3 have been upgraded to available. So I guess I probably just spoiled a little bit of our starting lineup segment.
And Joel Embiid is back too. He's back in the lineup. So
there we go. You have
a pretty big scare the other night, honestly. That was the one thing I did see from that was my big travel day. I was essentially en route to Philadelphia for 36 consecutive hours with no hotel room, just in airport terminals. So when I got back, the only thing I saw from that game on, what was it, Tuesday, was the Joel Embiid injury scare. So, you know, sometimes old things are new again.
Yeah, and it was one of those where everyone was trying to figure out exactly what happened because at one point it looked like his foot got a little caught up. It looked like he might have banged knees. He said, no, I hyperextended it after the game. He did seem like he came back and was moving pretty well. You know, I think a lot of people were concerned that it might be a more major injury with Embiid and a knee injury. You never really know. It was the right knee, which some people have called his good knee. I'm not sure he really has a good knee. He has a very bad knee and a bad knee. It's the knee that's only bad, but has been keeping him out of the lineup here of late. So any kind of injury to that, you don't want to see, but it does seem like, you know, he was able to close out that game. It did seem like he was moving pretty well. Wasn't necessarily playing as well as he did in the first half because he was playing great in that first half, but it is good to see him back.
Yeah, but so to add on to your point about VJ, Derek, he as much as we care about plus minus, and I know you and I on a per game basis think it's essentially useless, but he has been their top plus minus guy basically all year. Some of that is that he shares the floor with Tyrese Maxey quite a bit, and Tyrese Maxey's been at an all NBA level all year. So that's going to help pad your stats there a little bit. But VJ is also someone who just ties a lot of lineups together. He's able to take the tougher defensive assignments. I think one of the things that I brought up in our Discord while I was watching games on my way back.
How do you get access to that Discord?
By going to allphly.com, signing up to be a diehard. Good promo plug there by Derek. So talked about this with members of the Discord the other day as I was watching some of the more recent games. I do think while we've talked a lot about VJ making defensive strides just generally in terms of reading the game, maybe not being as gambly or knowing when to gamble, when to, go for a steal, when to play aggressively, so on and so forth. I also think some of that is manifested against bigger matchups, against bigger players. Like he's had some games and some stretches where, he's guarding Jalen Johnson, who he's given up size to. He's guarding Cooper Flagg, who he's given up size to. He's scaling up in the lineups more. Man, Derek's camera cord, maybe the worst camera cord in history, by the way. But VJ's been able to take different types of assignments than maybe I was expecting this early in his career. Someone made the comparison recently to being able to defend up a la a Drew Holiday. I wouldn't go quite that far with him just yet. He's got a long way to go before he's got Drew's strength. But I think that would be a comp that you're hoping for over the long term as he gets older, as he's able to bulk up. And so you add on all the offensive stuff where continues to shoot the ball well, is making some strides as a cutter, as a slasher, and had that end game sequence against the Knicks recently. It's a huge deal when he's back in the lineup, and it's just a huge deal to have him on this team in general. So been very, very encouraged, as most people have been, by VJ's recent play. And I think it's especially heartening because after the fast start, when he did look fatigued and when he did look like he was hitting a bit of a rookie wall, he's now been able to stabilize and go on a run where he's playing 4, 5, 6 good games in a row. He's scoring 20-plus points a game. He's making an impact defensively. He's locking down Jalen Brunson in that Knicks game. He's been able to do a little bit of everything for this team. You are laughing over there. This is not a laughing matter for me at all, as someone who has not spent a lot of time talking or thinking about the Sixers over the last couple of weeks. But yeah,
that USB cable, I already replaced it while you were talking there. That USB cable is going right in the trash.
Yeah, I was stalling, hoping that you would do that. But yeah, the bottom line here, VJ good, and he makes the team better. And there are not a lot of rookies you get to say that about that are able to put up stats and impact winning in a positive way. And it speaks very highly to VJ that he's been able to do both.
Yeah, and it's really the two-way contribution, right? It's obviously the defense, and we saw it against the Knicks where he was defending Brunson very, very well. And that was a game where I think he really excelled. And to a degree that you just don't like rookies, 20-year-olds aren't supposed to be able to handle a guy like Brunson because he has so many moves, because he's so good at changing directions, so good at the BS foul baiting that drives everybody crazy. But I think VJ acquitted himself very, very well. And obviously, the catch and shoot 3-point shooting, he's one of the best on the team. The ability to get to the rim. He just impacts the game in so many different ways that, it is something you don't see in rookies and 20-year-olds. But when you miss, he's out of lineup, and he's rarely been out of lineup, you see it in a big way. So it is great to have him back.
I will say it has been a hell of a rookie class so far. We spent a lot of time analyzing, scouting, talking about these kids. But as you watch Dylan Harper have big moments on Christmas and for the Spurs recently, as they really took it to the Thunder 3 straight times, which I didn't think anybody had that in him. So he's been a part of that. And when he's been in the lineup, has looked very, very good. Cooper Flagg has found his stride as the Mavericks have looked more like a normal basketball team. Con Knipple has been producing basically since Jump Street this year.
Yep.
He's setting 3-point rookie records early and looking exactly like he looked on the scouting report. So that's 4 guys. And then you go to, the Cedric Cowards of the world, Kalkbrenner in the second round. Like there's just Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, both the Pelicans rookies are looking very, very good, despite the fact that the team has not been very good. So a lot of fun, interesting young guys. But I have to keep saying, part of the appeal and part of the thing that's special with VJ is he's been able to do it on a team that is getting better, like is actively improving in the wins department. And it's not that he's along for the ride. He's helping drive their recent play.
Yeah. Yes, he is. So great to have him back. Great to have Barlow back, obviously, who is a very versatile defender. Good to have Grimes back, even though he is up and down in his play and can be frustrating at times. You still need that threat as a scorer, especially when you have your full complement of players, because then he can slide into that more natural off-ball role, which I do think he has been good at. Knock on wood, it does seem like they are trending in the right direction, ramping up towards being healthy, and that is something that we have not seen very much of. A lot of people like to make a big deal out of them being 0-3 with their big 3 in the lineup. I don't really care about that, in part because it's only 3 games, in part because 2 of those 3 games were very, very close, including a double overtime loss to the Hawks. I just want to see, I don't care about the 0-3. I care more about the 3. Like, get me more games so you can get more data to eval, so they can get a little bit closer to their optimal, just so they can get comfortable with each other. And I think that is hopefully going to happen here soon. This is kicking off a 5-game road trip, a very important and I think something you're going to learn a lot about your team from. Obviously, you have the Bulls here, and the Bulls are kind of up and down depending on the week that you catch them on. They could either be the hottest team in the league, or they could be losing 8 straight games. They obviously, when the Sixers met them earlier in the season, it was a battle of undefeateds. I think the Sixers were 4-0 and the Bulls were 5-0. Then the Bulls went, and I think they lost something like 13 of their next 17 games, but now they have won 6 or 5 of their last 6. So again, they've been maybe the streakiest team in the NBA, but that's obviously not going to be the toughest game of the schedule, because after this on Sunday, you have to go to Oklahoma City and you close it out to Memphis, Dallas, and New York. What are you hoping to get away from this trip, Kyle? What are you hoping to learn?
Just real quick to add on to the point about the Bulls, I would say 4 of those wins are against 2 teams in Cleveland and Atlanta. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been maybe I don't want to say the biggest disappointment in the league, because the Clippers, I think, rank number 1 in that list. But
this is a young team in their prime.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke around. Hey, they might be moving somebody, or they're tuning Kenny Atkinson out in year 2. And so you discount those a little bit. And then in the case of the Hawks, they just got Trae Young back, and their defense has kind of gone off of a cliff.
No way!
Not surprisingly. So just some context behind those wins. But obviously, you play who's on the schedule, you play who's in the lineup. So credit to the Bulls for that. Yeah, look, this is the part of the schedule. This is only a 5-game road trip. I say only. That's a significant road trip, especially when you play the Thunder and you end with the Knicks before you go home and play the Denver Nuggets in a national TV type game, right? So even that one, it's not on the road trip, but it is part of this pack of games that we're talking about. We said at the beginning of the year, part of the reason we wanted to see them, or hope to see them, get off to a good start was, as it hits the new year, you are going to be on the road quite a bit. Mm-hmm. The strength of schedule is going to go up. The amount of road games you're playing against Western Conference teams going way, way up. They basically haven't played almost any of those yet. And so as they have started to find their footing here, and you give them credit for, you beat a mediocre or worse Dallas team, you beat a Pacers team that struggled, you beat the Knicks, is probably your signature win of the year, or at least one of your signature wins of the year, and you have some wind behind you, like, okay, you're feeling good about yourself and you're healthy. Now's the time you start to find out, like, okay, how good are we actually? Are we a team that, they are 16-12. They're an above average team. They're right in the thick of the playoff hunt right now. I think they could probably, with a good road trip here, potentially get into that top 4. And is that real, though? Are they a team that's just going to hover around 16-12, 4 games over 500, where you win like 46, 48 games? Or is there something more here? Is this a team where Paul George, I know, talked the other night and said, we don't even know who we are quite yet because of all the injuries, all the guys in and out of the lineup. And that's probably going to continue, right? Paul George and Joel Embiid are probably not going to stay healthy the rest of the way. But the thing that gives you at least a little bit of hope and some heart is that they have been able to establish that identity with Maxey and Edgecombe, with Quentin Grimes as well, because he's been an integral part of what they've done with the multi-guard lineups, all the splits all year. Say those looks work really, really well. It's part of why, as they absorb or don't have Paul George and Joel Embiid in the lineup, they've been able to win and win and win. So I think we're going to learn something about these guys over the next week and a half, couple of weeks. And if you can go, let's say 3-2, ideally 4-1, but if you could go 3-2, you beat Chicago, you beat Memphis, and you win one of the OKC, Dallas, New York games, to me, that's a successful road trip based on who they have and where they're at in the schedule.
Yeah, and to me, 4-1 would be exceptional, just because you have two incredibly tough games. Obviously, the OKC game, but the New York game to end it. A lot of times that last game on a road trip, even though it's barely a part of the road trip, like you could basically stay in Philadelphia for that game. But even though it's the end of it, like a lot of times you tend to overlook that game. So if you can end up, and it's a really tough matchup, and it'd be really tough to win 2 games against the Knicks in the span of a week and a half. So if you have those 2 games where it's like, all right, those are going to be real tough to win, it just makes getting this against, Chicago all the more important. Like, yeah, they've won some games here of late. Kyle pointed out, not exactly the toughest competition, but you play who's on a schedule. But if you want a successful road trip, you almost have no margin for error in these other games. And getting this kicked off against the Bulls is going to be really important. All right. I think probably a quick break, talk about some of our friends, and then we will get back to previewing the game.
And guys, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I don't know how you wouldn't have been signed up for Bet365 at this point, because we've talked about them so much. They already have 90 million users worldwide. They live stream 780,000 events each year. Early payout offers for NBA games, NHL games, Major League Baseball. When baseball's going, they have those too. They have all kinds of football offers going on. They pioneered live in-game betting, and you are also going to have a betting Bodner segment, maybe the first one ever we've had on this show later on, where Derek gives you his pregame picks. Those are coming directly from Bet365, where you're getting the best lines, the best odds at any given time. So breaking news from Bet365, new customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, get $150 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, I know this is probably the wrong day to try to pick on Rick. I know. Look, my problems had nothing to do with my internet. That was entirely a USB cable. That was only my webcam. I will be watching the game fine. There will be no lagging. There will be no buffering. It will be a great experience. Maybe you guys didn't get the ideal experience. I apologize.
Tell it to the judge, Bob.
I apologize for that. It has been going fine for at least 5 minutes now, so we're going to call that a qualified win. Either way, if you call yourself a basketball fan and you want to prevent the problems I had earlier, you have to have Xfinity. I don't know if Xfinity is going to fix a USB cable problem, but it can't hurt. It can't hurt. At the very least, you are going to have a good picture. It's the ultimate sports destination where you can find the best games and your favorite teams all in one place. The way that you watch is next level. Get all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear that it feels like you're in the arena. Top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's best seat in the house every time. Next game day, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail like my camera was earlier. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers pregame show, brought to you by Bet365. All right, so it does look like we are starting to get some of the lineups out there, and it looks like the Sixers will have pretty much everyone back. We have Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe in the starting back, as Ethan brings it up. Paul George, Dominick Barlow, and Joel Embiid, which at this point, pretty much until Kelly comes back, pretty much feels like the typical starting lineup, which is not something we can say all that often. I do think this is a lineup that if you're going to try to build a competitive defense around Joel Embiid, having this kind of versatility in the VJ, Paul George, Barlow trio on the wings gives you the best chance to do that. I think they have been playing pretty good defense here over really about the last month of play. Yeah. A good 15 to 20 games where they were playing significantly better defense than they were earlier. I do think Joel Embiid is playing better defense himself individually. He might not be what he previously was, but I think he's been playing, at least protecting the rim, better than he was in the first month or so of the season. So I'm really interested to see if they can keep this group on the floor for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, God help us, a month in a row. I'm interested to see how much ground they can make up.
Yeah, and they, for the season now, are only just outside the top 10 in defense, which, Derek, when we watched this team the first, let's say, month of the season, would have seemed borderline impossible, mostly because the transition defense was so bad. But when you combine Joel finding his sea legs a little bit, Paul having a really big impact on this team defensively. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that people are always talking about Paul under the guise of, or not under the guise, and within the context of he's making a ton of money, right? And he's a glorified role player sometimes. But that defensive impact has been significant. You combine that with Barlow, who's been, I think, more of a switchable defender than I expected. Has been a good rebounder. He's had some weird, poor rebounding games recently, but I think by and large is a good rebounder. And he's someone that, one of the things I've been encouraged by with Joel, I think he's done a much better job at finding bodies and boxing out and clearing space for the team to gang rebound. And I think they have settled into a better understanding there. I think that's part of why they've been able to be a better defensive team. If you can end possessions, turns out that's a pretty important thing in terms of getting stops and going the other way. So a lot of ingredients are starting to come together. Once you add Kelly back into this lineup, or you get another wing defender, that opens up some lineup combinations they haven't been able to put out there with Paul and Kelly and Quentin, VJ. Like, there are a lot of athletes and a lot of switchable defenders they can put in this lineup. So that, I think, is the thing I want to see hold up as they go on the road more. They play some tougher competition. Normally, I think it's easier for defense to travel. Offense tends, especially with young players, like they have a lot of young guys in the rotation, shooting splits tend to really favor the home arena. I remember how dramatic it was for Matisse Thybulle specifically. His rookie year, he would shoot like 43% from three at the Wells Fargo Center at the time, and then like 20% from three on the road. So the defense is going to carry you on the road. They have to lock in on that end of the floor. They thankfully have done so. And then you just hope that Tyrese Maxey continues his run of form that he's been on all year, because he continues to play. Outside of the Brooklyn game, which was a rare stinker from him, he's been about as good as it gets at the guard position in the league this year.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think if you're looking at their improved defense over the last month or so, there's 3 places you would go to. First, Paul George. He basically just didn't play the first month. His presence alone has given them a big boost on that end. And quite frankly, he's just a very consistent defender. I know Michael Porter Jr. got him at times in the last game. They also lost him a bunch in transition, but for the most part, he's a good defender each and every night. He's very switchable. He's always in a good. He's rotationally sound all the time, and he just gave you a level of professionalism and versatility that they didn't have before. VJ Edgecombe, I think, is just getting better defensively than he was over the first couple of weeks. I think he's learning more, and then Joel Embiid is just trusting that knee a little bit more, and he's actually being a little bit of a rim protector. It is real hard in this league. You either need to be a switchable center or you need to protect the rim. If you can't do either, and if you can't defend in space or you can't protect the rim, it's really hard to build a defense around there. I think his rim protection has been significantly better. It's not anywhere near where it was, earlier on in his career. You don't expect it to be, given all of the lower body injuries and surgeries that he has had and the lack of meniscus in that knee. But I do think if he can find a middle ground between where he previously was during his heyday and where he was to start the season, I think he is finding that middle ground. Now let's see whether or not he can sustain it. But either way, it is good to be more competitive on that end, because quite frankly, the first, the start was great. and winning their first 4 games was great. They were shooting unsustainably for a good portion of that stretch. They needed the fundamentals to catch up so they could become a little bit more consistent and win games when their shot wasn't falling. And I do think over the last month or so, they have found that balance.
Yeah, to me, this feels a lot more real than the start of the season did. And I would even add on that even guys in the lineup who you don't look to as high level defenders, like Jared McCain would be an example. I think he frankly has probably been better defensively than he's been on offense in some of these games recently. But I think when you have guys like Jared, who are whatever you want to call him, 7th, 8th man in the rotation and are looked at as more offensive specialists, when they're coming into the game and bringing a defensive mentality or bought in on that end of the floor, I think that speaks pretty highly of the culture and the tone that they've set this year, because guys are not coming in and viewing it as acceptable to say, yeah, I'm going to take some plays off. I'm going to go through the motions here and there. Like, you get beat. That's going to happen. Guys in the NBA are good enough to break you down off the dribble and win, even if you play really good defense. But I think the consistent effort from 1 through 8, 1 through 9, even 1 through 10 some nights in the rotation has been super impressive. I think it's been a big reason they've been able to continue playing better as the season wears on.
Yes, sir. All right, you want to get to the first betting Bodner of the season?
Yeah, got to.
All right, so let's get to the Bet365 pregame picks, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, look, I don't want to talk too much trash on myself. I put about 2 minutes worth of thought into these, so just take them with a grain of salt. Come to your own conclusions is all I'm saying. All I'm saying.
All right, so we got VJ over 1.5 threes, PG over 16.5 points, Sixers to win. That's a -115. A nice little close to even odds parlay there from Derek.
Yeah, that was for the Sixers to win. Yep.
And then Ethan's getting a little more bold. He's got VJ at 20 plus points at +320, and Joel to go for 25 plus points at +180. Look at Ethan submitting his picks. I love it. He's stepping into the producer's chair for Bree, and he said, it's not enough for me to just run the show. I'm stepping into Bet and Bree's corner as well. So we'll see if either of you gentlemen know what the hell you're talking about.
I do not. I know I do not. But the only thing I will say is that I follow Devon's picks, and he doesn't either. So either way, I will feel okay about myself.
Tough break for Devon. He took the day off, and he's probably somewhere cursing your Wi-Fi just like Rich is. So.
Wi-Fi is fine. Wi-Fi is fine. Don't change it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see what they have going on in this one. Like you do have a lot of players. PG had a little bit of a down game the other night against the Nets. Came out kind of strong in the first quarter, then faded very quickly, 5 of 14. He was playing some pretty exceptional basketball up until that point. I'm hoping and quite literally betting on him rounding back into form. I do think he was playing pretty good basketball up to that stretch. And VJ over 1.5 threes just feels like he's pretty consistently making shots from the perimeter. Even when he's having off nights, he has been consistent. And the Bulls are a pretty disastrous defensive team. Their slide here ever since their 5-0 start has been largely on that end. So I think he will certainly have opportunities. Now, like you mentioned, young players on the road, you never really know, but I think he will get some pretty good looks on this one. So I think that will, once again, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And make sure when you sign up, use code PHLY 65, like Kyle said, if you haven't already signed up at this point. And if you haven't, I don't know why, because they've been a long-term partner and a long-term friend. But if you haven't, PHLY 365 is the code to use. All right. I think that's probably just about all that we have on this one. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here and go watch that game?
No, I want to see a Sixers win, get some revenge for that awful collapse they had in Chicago early in the year. And let's make this an easy one, fellas. First night back for me. Don't turn it into a complicated affair.
Yes, please, please, please. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, thank Ethan for stepping up here, and we will see you all 10 minutes after the game.
We all silly like the mayor.